Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of In Black and White. As you notice, I unfortunately don't have my normal co-host with me here this evening. Ethan Michael is off for tonight, and we're sending him best wishes in all of the things that he's taking care of. It is Thursday, August 13th. Happy Left-Handers Day. Listen, some of y'all didn't know that was a thing. I'm sorry, International Left-Handers Day. So this is a global thing here. This is something that we're celebrating all around the world, right? But happy Left-Handers Day to all of my fellow left-handers out there. It's good to celebrate us and the struggles that we've also been through in this life. So tonight we have a lot to cover. I definitely want to let's do this. Let's introduce you to my co-host, my guest co-host for the evening, who's joining me on In Black and White. It's actually a blue and white takeover tonight. You've seen her on In Black and White once before in the past. She's the creator of White Troublemakers, this movement. She's a strong activist and fighter for anti-racism and equality. A proud Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. Again, it's a blue and white takeover on In Black and White tonight. You all welcome back to the show. Miss Kendra B is joining me this evening. Let's bring Kendra on in here.
Hi.
Kendra, what's going on? Soror, how are you this evening?
I'm so good. A blue and white takeover. I love that.
It's a blue and white takeover tonight on In Black and White. For those of you, if you don't know, yes. Historically Black Greek-led organization of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated and Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, the only constitutionally bound organization. We're here to bring you In Black and White tonight. You ready for the show tonight, Kendra?
I am. I'm so excited.
We have so much to talk about and to cover. Whew. But first, before we get into that, I do want to make sure that we cover a few things. So if you are enjoying the content here on YFNA News, make sure that you like this video, subscribe to the channel, share this video on your platform, and even hit that little alarm button so that you can get alerts for the shows and content as they come up and participate in the conversations live with us. A big shout out to and thank you to all of our Patreons, our top Patreons. We have Marsha, Filipello, best name ever, and then the Miss Cynthia McDonald. Cynthia McDonald, I want to give a huge thank you to for stepping in and running the show on the back end that you all can't see, but you can catch her every Monday night here on YFNA News on the 13% with her co-host Arthur Ward, where they talk about policies and politics that are impacting and affecting the Black community. Every Monday night at 7 p.m. Central Daylight Time here on YFNA News on YouTube. So big thanks to Miss Cynthia too as well. All right, so Kendra, how's your week been going?
Pretty good. It's getting to that point. The school year's about to start, so I'm trying to fit my mind around preparing for the school year without really knowing what I'm preparing for.
So as an educator, tell us a little bit about, I want to hear, because I know your life is all kinds of twisted right now with what's going on. What's it like? What's going on? What are the parameters for kids returning to school in your area?
Well, for Oury County in South Carolina, my district, I'm going to be honest with you, surprised the heck out of me by agreeing to listen to science. And
wow.
Right. Well, when the spread is high, my district will be virtual. When it's medium, we'll do hybrid. So we'll have A/B days, and it'll be 2 days on and then 3 days online. And then when it's low spread, we will be face-to-face, but with social distancing, mask requirements, no food or no lunch in the cafeteria, no recess, stuff like that when the spread is low. So
I saw that there's no recess or nothing. Kids are just stuck in the classroom.
Yes, and that's what I keep telling people. They're like, our kids need to be back in school. And I'm like, they need to be back in school, but y'all do know school's not going to look the same. No recess, no cafeteria. You can't hug your friends. There's a box in the front of the room that you can't approach me. I can't approach you. I mean, it's nothing for me to go to a kid and grab his pencil and work a problem out on the side of his page. I can't do that anymore. I can't touch their Chromebooks if they have technical difficulties. I can't. It's going to be different.
They're just left to figure out their own devices, huh?
Yes, and I'm getting all kinds of questions, and I'm like, that's a good question, but I don't know. Figure it out.
Oh man, well listen, best of luck to you
Thank you.
in the return to an unnormal environment in classes. And hopefully, what's the rate at with the spread now in your area?
We are high, and we have been high for a long time. So I'm hoping. So what we see, whatever the report says on August 31st, will tell us what we're doing on September 8th, which is a very quick turnaround. So I'm hoping that will make people do what they're supposed to do. Because if you step foot in Myrtle Beach right now, I mean, y'all seen us on the news. No, it's terrible. It is terrible.
It is.
Hopefully it'll encourage people to do what they're supposed to so we can get these kids back in school.
Yeah, and we can get back to some type of normalcy. I'm still not at work yet, still waiting to get back to restaurants. We support wearing masks here at YFNA News. Hey, why don't you tell us real quick a little bit about white troublemakers and what you got going on with that activism there?
So white troublemakers came from being on the show for the first time with Rick and Ethan, and we were talking about, being more than non-racist, you have to be anti-racist. And so people who are white troublemakers are people who, are activists for more than the gram. I mean, they're doing it, their boots on the ground, and they're actually doing the work. I like to kind of tie it in with good trouble. I feel like we're causing good trouble,
Yeah. And we're going to get to one of those. For those of you who are watching and have heard us cover a white troublemaker question on one of our shows, we try to tackle it, but we were off last week, so we'll definitely get to a white troublemaker question this on this show this evening. Also, how do you like the new look? I decided to sport the softer look for primetime television. Yeah.
I love it. Clean face, baby face.
Hey, I tried something different. I don't have any hair on my head to do a color change, so we decided to do this, my better half and I. So I'm liking it. It's kind of comfortable. It's kind of neat. It's not even midlife crisis yet, as I have a birthday coming up soon. Hey, as we talked about earlier, for those of you who may not be aware of Black Greek lettered organizations historically, Black Greek lettered organizations, a big congratulations to Senator Kamala Harris, who accepted the VP pick and nomination to run alongside Joe Biden, who is a member of the ladies of Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, the oldest Black Greek lettered sorority, historically Black Greek lettered sorority. Big hats off to her. And it seems like that's already causing some issues and some turmoil.
Right.
But that's a topic for another show. Maybe catch political perspectives here on YFNA News and cover it then. So Kendra, let's get into our topics tonight. Again, I appreciate you joining me. So we'll start with our. There's a discussion that's kind of been sparked very recently here about a commercial ad, and let me just say that this commercial ad I have not seen on any network TV yet, but it's indicated that this is a commercial from Procter Gamble, and they called it The Look. The commercial takes a moment to highlight the experience of, or just the way that people of color, specifically Black men, get a look with a fascinating twist at the end of the commercial. Let's go ahead, Ms. Cynthia, and play the commercial video for the viewers to see. All right. So this has caused a bit of controversy and some topics of discussion. One in which has people kind of offended that Procter and Gamble has taken this exposed this on kind of a national level. Yo, Kendra, how did you feel watching that?
Well, of course it's something that like I know happens, but obviously I don't, experience it. But in the end, that got me. That's not. I watched it a few times. And I was just like, man, I haven't seen it. Like, where has it been aired? Do you know, or has it been aired, or what's going on?
So again, I haven't seen it aired yet, and that's kind of the troubling thing for me behind this. So for starters, we all know that black men, black women, there's discrimination, there's bias, there's racism, and sometimes I was recently in a conversation with on a show, and the question was asked, well, how do you know when someone is being racist? And I think for me that the question was kind of off-putting because it's not like people are walking around with a meter to rate the rate of racism that's being attributed. It kind of took me off guard. Like, what do you mean? How do you know that someone's being racist? Right? Here you go. There are, and people will say that and this is some of the conversation that's happened around this video. People will say that there isn't any actual racism displayed in the commercial, and I don't think that people really understand or get what happens, what has happened as a byproduct and repercussion of what racism looks like. Actually, looks like blatant, overt racism. What it looks like. These things are, I personally, these are things that are byproducts of what racism has done and what it looks like when it can't be overt but rather covert. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't get how people can just dismiss the fact that this experience actually happens. So thank you to you for actually acknowledging that it happens, because it does. Like,
well, I watched that show where, they were asking, like, you walk into the place, how do you know that there's white supremacy? And like you said, it's not like you pull a meter out and you're like, oh, these racist jerks, I'm leaving. That's not how it works. I guess that's what he was expecting, or like, what are the telltale signs of racism? Oh, that person has a Confederate flag on their shirt. This is a 10 out of 10. We got to go. It's not how it works.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to highlight over on Facebook and shout out to all the people that are viewing out there on YouTube and on Facebook. Najwa Ali made a comment saying that you have to look for the microaggression, and how do you know when something is porn? Kind of the same. Najwa, I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to get into that at all. But there you have it. And she says that it has been aired. I definitely want to keep an eye out for it being aired. But the conversation that they did with this is they brought this to the national level and forced people yet again, to have to take a look at how racism actually plays out in demeanor, in engagements or lack of engagements per se. As we saw with the gentleman and the couple in the diner. Right, they looked at him and decided that specifically the man didn't want to sit over there and kind of push the lady off over to the side there. Right, how do you start having that conversation? And I have to say that this was brought to the attention that the conversation engagement did come from a white guy. But how do you start the conversation? Kendra, I'll ask this of you. With being such an outspoken activist, Black people have been saying this for decades, for generations, for centuries. Hey, this is racism. What you're doing is racist, but people still don't get it. How do you have that conversation? As someone who is white and I'm sure has to face, and as I know you do, face white people all the time with approaching this conversation, this discussion. Like, what do you do?
So, if I'd say, like, if I were out and I were to see that happen, or I mean, it's, people that I know and I'll see it happen, and I'll explain to them what just happened, because a lot of times it's done subconsciously, and I'll say, let me tell you what you just did, and let me tell you what that looked, well, not what it looked like, let me tell you what that was, and you need to explain to me where why'd you do that? Where did that bias come from? And it usually comes from some super hurtful stereotype. It's definitely racism. And then right then and there, have that conversation. So that this is where that bias came from. This is why that's wrong. And then, number one is pointing it out and calling people out. It doesn't make it okay, but there are a lot of times where like you'll tell someone like, hey, that's racist. They didn't even realize they did it, or, whatever, because it's so like indoctrinated in them. And you'll point it out, and then you have to figure out, okay, so where did that bias come from? And then go from there.
Hey, and for those people that are watching over on Facebook, we do appreciate you checking us out on Facebook. Head on over to YouTube, click the link that's in the post. Check out the YouTube live comments and enjoy the conversation there too as well. And when you get over there, make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel. Here's the thing. I took it upon myself to actually invest some emotional energy into having the conversation with someone. And I think that, unfortunately, and I'm going to get to that comment. I didn't get a chance to read all of it, but I want to definitely come back to it in just a second if we need to. Excuse me. I decided to invest some emotional energy into explaining the demeaning comment that was made about belittling the experiences of Black people who are accosted by microaggressions, remnants of overt racism that is now subtle and covert. And in having the conversation about racism, I think having the conversation about microaggressions within racism is like way more exhausting, because then you have to prove that what you just experienced was racism or was racism, right? And then go into, after having to spend time examining and defending your position on why it was racist, then invest energy into, hey, you're being a racist for even belittling the experience and demeaning the group, the marginalized community, specifically the Black man here in this video, or speaking about racism, Black people. You have to go into and again yet fight racist behavior within that person. Oh, y'all, dear Jesus. I just had to share that, because that's the amount of emotion that I need to express. So the comment that Morgan Brown said, those who don't get it are the same ones that say, I'm not racist, I have Black friends. Oh, those people.
Right. What you said is so important, because you're talking about like microaggressions and bias and stuff like that. And had this conversation probably a few months ago, but someone was like, well, I don't think it's racism, it's bias and stuff. And it's very important to, call it what it is. Like, yes, that's a microaggression. Yes, it's bias, but it's racism. It's white supremacy, and calling it what it is. But those words make people very uncomfy. Right.
Speaking of, I'm almost finished with White Fragility at Dr. D'Angelo.
It is there. She put so much information in that book. Like, you read 2 pages and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm, bubbling over. Hold on a second. It's so much, but it's so good.
I've said this on the show before, Kendra, and I think you and I have talked about this too in the past, that the book actually opened my eyes to how I contribute as a Black person, as a Black man specifically, to the institution of white supremacy and racism. And it really gave me perspective of, the times that I let things slide. I don't confront racism when it needs to be addressed. And so, last night, the friend that I engaged with, like, I couldn't let it slide. And I made the conscious decision. And here's the thing. I have a tremendous amount of white friends, diverse group of people that I've come across, had some great engaging relationships with, developed great relationships with. And I personally feel that that's a benefit and a privilege that I've been afforded, right, to have this diverse circle of friends. But specifically when it comes to the white friends that I have who don't really get it, I have to make a conscious decision. Am I going to engage and invest the emotional energy that it takes to even have the conversation or discuss it? Speaking of, my Cash App is I am Rick L2. RL2, if you want to cover my therapy sessions. Just going to put that out there. I'll put that in the chat too. If you all want to help cover my therapy sessions, that works too. Because it's a thing. Like, it really takes emotional investment to have the conversation. And I found myself engaging in this discussion / text back and forth via Facebook Messenger, and I could not believe that there was any room for response. That there was actually a counter defense to the claim that Procter and Gamble has bought, I think the word that was used was race baiting, to the national platform. Can somebody explain to me what race baiting is? Let's start there, because what is race baiting?
I think it's what people say whenever they're being called out, and someone's like, "This is racism," and they're like, "No, it's not. You're race baiting." But it is. It's when they get uncomfy. That's what I think it is.
Here's my thing. But we came up with this term because of racism. There wouldn't be race baiting if there wasn't racism to begin with. I mean, that's just my perception. I could be wrong. I don't know. You help me out here, Kendra. I could be wrong.
I mean,
we couldn't have race baiting if there wasn't racism.
Right.
Okay.
Agreed.
All right. I just didn't know if it was me or not. You know what I mean? I've had experiences where, I think that there are more posts and awareness around subtle racism, a covert racism, as it's also been termed, and microaggressions. And I want to say, before I go any further, a big thank you to Dr. Walker, Dr. Erica Walker, who was going to be on our show tonight, but we decided that we wanted to take a little bit more time to ensure that we had her show designed in the best quality of presentation so that we could discuss the issue that she's facing in regards to racism in her community and the struggles that she's had with fighting the racism. If you hadn't had a chance, please go check her out on my page. The call to activism that she's asking for and the help that she's requesting from the community to address the bigoted, sexist, and racist behavior that she's had to endure, her family's had to endure, and we're going to highlight that in our next show. In her situation, I'll just kind of give a little sneak peek to it. It was an aggressive microaggression, right? But it's one of those things that, well, they weren't really being actually racist. Why? Because they didn't use the N-word. Here we have this very same situation where you have grumpy old dude. Yes, exactly. There it is. I appreciate that, grumpy old dude. Check out Grumpy Old Dude too as well. Grumpy Old Dude, please make sure to put your show link in there. As we continue to have these conversations about race, and we know that it's no longer overt. We have what's called then these microaggressions. And we're going to talk to Dr. Walker about her experience that was, like I said, an aggressive microaggression. But I don't know, Kendra, did you see the video of, there she is. Oh, Dr. Walker, she's here with us. I love it. I can't wait to talk to her next week. Make sure you guys tune in to check her out. We're probably going to talk about masks too in her profession as an emergency physician.
Yes, please.
We won't do this now. Yes, exactly. But Kendra, have you seen the commercial or the video, on going around social media about with the dogs and the police officer?
I have not.
No? So I think I talked about it on the show once. There's a group of what seems to be teenagers, but they're portrayed as 3 dogs of one color and 1 dog as another color, darker color, of course. And the police officer that pulls them over is the same complexion and look as the majority in the car. And the police officer kind of does this thing where he glances over at the one in the passenger seat in the front seat, who's a darker complexion or appearing dog. Great cartoon. I won't go too far into it, but it highlights microaggressions. We can't go any further in this conversation about racism if we're not going to address microaggressions and covert racism. You can't. It's like dog whistling to call it to just refer to it as biases. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
It's just, I I know. So I'm curious to know from your perspective, Kendra, because you spent a lot of time being vocal, being active, fighting for anti-racism. I assume that it's got to be, you know, a bit overwhelming for you. Let me ask you this: for those that are watching, how do you keep going? Like you know what I mean? Like Black people have been doing this for 400 years. We're known to be the continued pushers and fighters against racism because we're the oppressed community. We're going to keep fighting against it. But well, most of us are. Some of y'all just still in the matrix. But how do you keep going? How do you encourage, you know, the people, the white troublemakers that you come across, to keep fighting for anti-racism?
Well, I think you just said it. The Black community's been doing it for 400 years, and you know, it's up to white people. We got to call each other out. And what you were saying, that's, you know, saying bias is just not enough. The book that Layla Sad wrote, Me and White Supremacy, that is the very first thing that she says. When you say racism, people think like, you know, slavery, Jim Crow laws. That's where their mind goes to, like that end of the spectrum, and they don't think about the looks and the bias and the microaggressions, but that is also racist and that is also white supremacy. So that's, you know, whenever I do talk to other white troublemakers, I make sure to tell them, like, you have to call it what it is. It's racism, it's white supremacy. But as a, you know, like you said, of, you know, keep going, like you said, the Black community's been on it for 400 years. Like, there is no option but to keep going. I actually tell a lot of people this too. White troublemakers come to me and they're like, dude, whoa, like, wow, this is a lot. And then I always tell them the analogy with the chess game that you tell me. I probably repeat this analogy 1,000 times a day, where it's a chess game and every move has to be intentional, and every move, your purpose needs to be to stay in the game for as long as possible, because this is a long game. So that's it. Everything has to be intentional.
I appreciate you for referencing the chess analogy, because I'm trying to be out here telling the folks, listen, if y'all don't know how to play chess, get you a friend that knows how to play chess. I got a few people on my list that I got to teach how to play chess. But ultimately, that's what this is. It is, we are playing chess, and it's very important to make moves that not only help us get to the end of the game, right? But the end of the game, I think, for this is life, is the end of life. And in order to continue to play the game, you have to stay in the game. And in order to stay in the game, you have to make intelligent moves to ensure that you still have longevity and a chance to fight and win the game. Those moves are important. Those moves are so important. And I do appreciate the YFNA news post about learning how to play chess. Cynthia, stop taking my job away from me. I'm trying to make a side hustle here. I'm not working right now. I'm charging for these chess lessons. Well,
and then I think Grumpy Old Dude just said, you know, making a better future for his grandsons. That's another thing. As a teacher, when I see my kiddos, I'm like, this is why I have to keep going. This is it. Like, when I see my students, you know, I might not be here. I hope I am when the chess game, you know, ends and everything's better. Equality, racism, white supremacy are gone. But I at least have to set up the chess game so that they can keep going.
Ooh, look at that right there. Set up the chess game. And Morgan Brown says, Kendra has to remind me of this all the time because I'm always ready to go after someone. Hey, look, drastic times call for drastic. No, I'm not going to say that because we got enough drasticness going on in this fight.
Sometimes I'm like, go ahead, just go ahead, rip him a new one. But then sometimes I'm like, hey, say, chess game, making smart moves.
Make smart moves. Grumpy Old Dude, I will definitely check that game out. It's a game called Go. That's new for me. I haven't heard that one yet. So I appreciate you sharing that, because I did not know that's a game. Well, look, at the end of the day, this is what we're here for. So, y'all, when you see actions like this take place, and I'm going to be honest, you know, we had the show a couple of weeks ago about the Confederate flag that was on Evanston's beach and the calling out of the behavior, the calling out of the action, and why it's important to start speaking up when you see even this. And I think that this might be the most difficult one for people, Kendra. I think that this is one of those situations where, like, if you were the host of that in that restaurant, or if you were walking past and you saw these people looking at this black man and his boy learning how to backfloat, which I want people to know something about me. I took swim lessons as a kid, and I hated it. I was pushed off the diving board by my uncle, and I still have flashbacks of that to this day. It was part of the class. I had to jump off the diving board, y'all. He was supposed to be giving me some help, and I just wouldn't do it. So it eventually and there was somebody down there to catch me when I jumped in the water. But the swim class thing and the backfloat, like, I still can't backfloat to this day. So I appreciated this father and his son, this father that was there trying to help his son learn how to backfloat. You know what I mean? Like, that was for me, it was monumental. Well, I'm just saying I appreciated the father that was there helping his son to backfloat. My uncle eventually helped me how to learn to swim by what he did, because I learned how to swim in that class. So, but to see that father-son moment, and then to see that couple look at him being a father to his son, you know what I mean? Like, that's triggering within itself. But it was also refreshing to see that they highlighted this black man and his son, and the fact that they were engaging in this action together. But it's difficult for some people to speak up, right? It's difficult for people to step up and say, hey, that look right there, what's going on there? What is that about? And it's probably not going to get the response of, oh, well, I was being racist because I don't like black people, so I was looking at them, right? I'm sure that's not going to be the thing that is going to be the response for someone confronting. But it doesn't mean you don't confront it.
Exactly.
I'm
Plant
just saying.
the seed. No, yeah, you have to confront it. Silence is.
It's not. The silence is not. And as we'll get into our conversation with Dr. Walker next week, she spoke up, and unfortunately is having some difficulty there. Okay, so Amy Cooper as a mayor.
Pretty much.
We haven't learned yet. We haven't had a chance to really learn about what happens here. Okay, so for those of you that may not know, I just learned this. I think this just happened a little earlier today, and I want to thank. I found this on Dr. Walker's page as I was wishing her daughter, Dr. Walker, happy birthday to your daughter too as well. I came across the Virginia mayor, Barry. I can't remember his last name. Who made a comment? Let's show his picture for people to see on the screen. This Virginia mayor apparently did not learn from, or any of the other, I don't even know what to call this type of behavior, but he indicated that he made a comment on social media that Joe Biden has picked Aunt Jemima for his running mate.
Hey, you can't say that.
I'm just gonna let that slide for a second. I'm gonna let that just sit for a second. We did that show on Black and White when we talked about the things that the comment that Joe Biden made. You can't say that, first off, but there's a deeper issue here. And I just am I still, I want to make sure I'm coming through okay, because I think it seems like I'm kind of going in and out. But yes, Mayor Barry Pressgraves is his name. So Joe Biden has picked Aunt Jemima. And here we are yet again, as we talked about it with Amy Cooper and the young girls who were caught And we are yet here again where people are then offering an apology. Kendra, help me navigate this because I can't. I'm not able to. I don't have the bandwidth yet anymore. So this keeps happening, and there are no repercussions for it. And I'm gonna say this again: there are no repercussions for it. Right?
Well, this probably isn't a very popular opinion.
I think it's supposed to be going to trial.
I don't know, this probably isn't a very popular opinion, but sometimes I'm very pro cancel culture. And in this case, yes. Like how sensitive, like how insensitive or just completely ignorant of what's going on. And like you said, there will be no repercussions, you know.
I think
there will be no repercussions.
Kendra's going in and out a bit there. Do we have you back? I think we have you.
Are we good?
So when it comes to cancel culture in politics, what does that look? I think that we talk about voting people out, but the truth of the matter is you don't necessarily vote people out. You just vote other people in replacement of.
Right.
But when we talk about cancel culture in politics, you know, we look at the recent attempts on Trump out of office, and, you know, that was difficult. So I don't know about when we talk about cancel culture, how do we get politicians who have this national platform to stop doing this dumb shit? Like just to accept and allow this Virginia mayor of a town of 5,000 or 50,000, I can't remember how many people are in the town. And I think that the percentage of black people in his town, it was 4%. Yo, Joe Biden had a plethora of black women on his short list or on his running list of choices for VP. Were all of them going to be Aunt Jemima? Like, was he just waiting for one black person to be Joe Biden's running mate so he could just use that joke or that comment or whatever it was? Like, is that what happens? Dude, how do we hold people like this accountable, man?
Well, I mean,
Morgan Brown, what a great comment.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable holding other white people accountable. And that's the thing. It has to be people other than, you know, members of the black community crying out in anger, like, hey, you can't say that. It's white people that have to say it too. But like you say, people in those positions, you know, what can we do?
And I think you struck a great point there too, as well. I'm going to highlight excuses in just a second because some of us know what excuses are. Tools of the incompetent. The thing is, you brought up a great point, Kendra, and this is just that conversation. This is the conversation about white people attacking racism and racist behavior and not holding or not allowing it to continue on. Black people and people of color, specifically the conversation about racism in America in black and white, will refer to the black community and black people as a whole of the generations of slavery and Jim Crow and politics that have been and policies that have been systemic and continue to happen. White people are the ones that are going to have to start holding other white people accountable. And here is the best chance to do it.
Yeah.
Don't let Mayor whatever his name is. See, who cares? Hold him accountable for that. People in political positions, hold him accountable for that. So
yes.
Listen, whatever, sure, press graves, fine, bury. Black people can do it all day long, and we have been doing it all day long, and we keep doing it all day long. I posted a video about the experience of a black man that was posted by Procter Gamble, and I'm accused of, or I won't say I was accused, but it comes up that that's not racism. What? So white people got to start doing it. This is in black and white. White people have got to start calling out white people and their behavior when it comes to this and holding them accountable. But I've said this too, Kendra. I think that there should be some type of criminality put to those actions.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, I think that there's...
Absolutely. I can't think of any other way to hold people in those positions accountable other than, it's tough. It's tough because you're right. It's uncomfortable, and it's constantly the black community doing it. But another thing that I say all the time, if someone in the black community says it's racism, believe them and fix it. Don't try to make excuses. Just believe them and then fix it. When the whole Aunt Jemima thing happened, like the original issue, and people were wondering how it was racist, I'm like, hey, the black community says it's racist. Believe it, fix it, move on. That's it. If you don't understand, that's your privilege. Like it's a privilege that you don't understand why that's racist, or you don't understand why that upsets them. Just know that it does, and if you don't understand it, believe it, fix it.
Yeah. Oh. Well, there's another situation for people to marinate on. So, Kendra, we have a white troublemaker question that we can go ahead and cover on the show this evening. What question did you have?
I love that. Believe it, fix it. Kendra. Okay. So the exact question is, okay, I recently posted something and was called out for being a white savior. I feel like an idiot and I wanted to just cry and give up. How do I come back from this? Oh, my co-host left. So that was a question that was submitted on White Troublemakers. If you don't know what that is, it is a Google form that is, I'm not sure if it's linked into the description of this live stream, but it is in the bio of my Instagram, which is at lowkeykins. And it's for when people have questions, white troublemakers have questions, they go ask it, we answer it on this show. So again, this person said, these are also anonymous if you choose for them to be. So this person anonymously submitted this. I recently posted something, was called out for being a white savior. I feel like an idiot. I wanted to cry and give up. How do I come back from this? So my answer to them, I mean, all white troublemakers have been in this situation, but it's just, you just come back from it. That's it. You learn from it and you move on. It's going to get uncomfortable. Growth is uncomfortable. A while back, I posted something that started this, insane thread that was a, back and forth between two of my friends. And it's something that I shouldn't have even posted. And I actually reached out to Rick about it. And he was like, keep it on there. It's a good growth point. One of the people who were in there, debating was one of my sorors, and she's Black. And Rick told me if I deleted that would delete, a lot of the emotional input that she put into that conversation. So to keep it there. So how do I come back from this? Is you just come back from it. You learn from it and you jump right back into it. For those who don't know what being a white savior is, I always use the movie Freedom Riders as the example. This white teacher goes into this, school and has all these Black students, and she just saves them. That's white saviorism. And a lot of times white troublemakers definitely come across very white saviory. It's not a word, but they're just like dripping in white saviorism. And, this white troublemaker was called out for it. And it's embarrassing. Sure. Yeah, of course. You feel like you're doing the work and someone's like, hey, you're being a little, white saviorist, and that's it. Come back from it. You just grow and come back from it. Listen, Facebook, how you can go and look at your memories from years past. I love it, but it's also a curse because I'll read something and I'm like, oh, Kins. Honey, the white saviorism, oh, or like, oh gosh, I thought I was doing something. That's like a major microaggression. I've got to get that out of there. But you learn from it. You keep going. Just don't stop. That's my biggest thing. Coming back from it, just don't stop.
I also think that when it comes to they're so layered there. You know what I mean? It's true. Grumpy old dude has actually been classified as
A
a race
race
traitor. Yeah, poor guy. But doing some activism, anti-racism work too as well.
Mm-hmm.
My thing is this, I personally feel like don't stop the effort. Just figure out a way to maybe change the presentation, and like you said, inquire, learn from it. Because at the end of the day, you're still heading in the right direction, right? There's still an attempt to fight for equality and being anti-racist. It's just a learning opportunity, and people are going. It's going to hit people differently, right? The Black experience is not a monolith. Where I may not feel that it is white saviorish, someone else may, and that could be because of a list of reasons of a past experiences that have shaped the impression for that individual. Take that for what it's worth. Take that as a learning experience, but understand that there are going to be situations where that things like that come up, where our experiences, Black experiences, are different because of the experiences that we've been through to help shape that. So, but don't stop. Like, figure out how to adjust it, how to fix it. Definitely move forward.
Right.
Are you putting on any events for White Troublemakers once this COVID thing is done? Like, is there going to be a White Troublemaker party once we can finally celebrate like we used to be able to? By the way, New Zealand seems to be doing pretty well.
Right. Look, don't tempt me. Because Myrtle Beach, South Carolina is a mess. And I will go to New Zealand in a heartbeat. It is a mess down here. Y'all stay away.
Yeah. But can we put together a White Troublemaker event once we're able to?
We should. We really should. I mean, yeah. I mean, I've already made the T-shirt, which apparently I need to put some context in it because that might wearing a shirt that says White Troublemaker on the front might raise some flags. Not around here. They probably get excited about it, but I need to put some context on the back or something, and we'll work on it. And Grumpy Old Dude is 1,000% invited. Straight up White Troublemaker there.
He definitely is. He definitely is. So the conversations about racism continue to happen. We continue to bring them to you here on In Black and White because it's a thing, and it's going to continue until we can all become anti-racist. And if we're not going to commit to being anti-racist, if you're just going to be non-racist, then we're never going to beat racism.
That's right.
We're not going to beat microaggressions if you're not willing to call out microaggressions. We're not going to be able to wipe from existence covert racism if we don't start calling it out. And hopefully we get the chance to continue to do that here on YFNA News and on In Black and White. So, with that said, with the links in the show, if you like the content and want to help or become a patron and support the work that we're doing here at YFNA News, click on that link. Submit your contribution for our content and our channel to continue to grow, for us to be able to continue to provide you with great shows and better Wi-Fi networks, because apparently I need that. Or if you just want to buy a coffee and contribute that way, there's a link for that too. And buying that coffee, just so that everyone is aware, I do drink my coffee black, but if you want to throw some Baileys or some Grand Marnier or some Jameson in it, you're more than welcome to do so as well. Yeah, I'm okay with that too as well. But please become a patron. Help us continue to provide and build a great channel and network and content for you all, so we can continue to have these conversations. Again, make sure that you like the video, share it on your page so people can have the conversation as well, join the conversation. Subscribe to the channel. That always helps too as well. And hit the alarm button so that you can get alerts for when our shows go live. A lot of content out there, folks, and a lot of conversations that need to be had. Black and strong, as Grumpy Old Dude likes his coffee and men, or just coffee, sorry. It could be, I'm projecting, Grumpy Old Dude, sorry. But I have one already, so, fight the good fight. Kendra, before we wrap up, anything that you want to add, anything you got going on, and how can people find you?
So that actually was our last white troublemaker question. So I know there are white troublemakers, or as I like to say, white troublemakers in training that have questions. So I will post the link on my Facebook. You can find me at Kendra Brielle on Facebook. And then on Instagram, I am at lowkeykens. And I'm pretty sure the link is still in my bio for White Troublemakers. So send that link to friends that you know have questions, or if you have questions, or, we'll try to get it out there, answer some more questions. I love these questions. It also shows me that people are like really thinking. Like, I'm not getting those broad questions like, what is racism? What is white supremacy? Like, these are specific things. People are growing.
I love it. You're doing some great work. And hey, I appreciate all the work that you continue to do. Continue to keep up the fight and encouraging people. Thank you so much for stepping in for Ethan Michael, who will be returning to us next week. Kendra, it's always an open invitation to come and host in Black and White. Always appreciate you on here. Blue Phi Soror, there's also that connection. Yeah. And listen, again, for those of you that don't know, if you don't know, don't know. But get to know it because it's a family affair. It is a family affair. Big thank you to Miss Cynthia McDonald, who has graciously and gracefully stepped in to run our show tonight. We appreciate you. Make sure that you check her out every Monday night, her and Arthur Ward, here on YFNA News on the 13%, Monday nights at 7 o'clock Central Daylight Time. Always a great show. I learn a lot from both of them every single time they have a show, and I'm always excited to watch it. Again, thank you to our patrons. Thank you to all of you all for watching. And keep in mind, I'll go ahead and cover this, Kendra, because we didn't practice this. Wherever there's racism to fight, there will be in Black and White. Thanks so much, guys. Have a good night. She's still hitting. No, go ahead and close us out there. Go ahead. Well, it's time for us to get out of people's hair. They've seen enough of us. Sit, they can take us out.